You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
Jim Lutzy's our guest. He serves on a governor's panel on energy exploration. Is that
okay?
That's good
That's
enough,
it, right?
And also, he co-chairs a state commission on offshore energy exploration. We're talking about the Gulf spill and what it might mean to North Carolina. Before this whole issue literally exploded in the Gulf, on these two panels that you serve on, was there a consensus about drilling off the coast, or?
There was a consensus that we ought to be careful about drilling off the coast, and that there were a lot of questions that had to be asked. And let me make a larger point. Something that we truly agreed on, and something that we should not lose sight of, is the state needs an energy policy. The state needs to be thinking out 20 years. What energy sources are they going to need, and what energy sources are they going to have? And how are they going to balance nuclear, coal?
We can't seem to plan for the budget for next year. I mean, they can't go that far. Is that a realistic expectation?
Yes, it is a realistic desire that the state have that. And this is something I'm passionate about, that we have to do a better job of planning. Where do we want to go, and how are we going to get there? Because if you look at this, truly, the oil is not going to be available for 15 to 20 years. Yeah. What is going to be our energy need at that time? We probably will continue to need oil, but what if we've come up with some new strategy?
Well, let's talk about alternative energy sources. How much discussion with these two panels have sources like wind and natural gas?
Okay, a lot of discussion, and the most promising in terms of your cost-benefit analysis of what has the least environmental danger related to it and the highest potential payoff. Wind comes out way ahead, and there was an extensive study done by Chapel Hill on the question of wind energy. And interestingly enough, the two areas in which wind might be harvested are off Cape Hatteras and off Wilmington.
And off Wilmington.
Yes.
Now you said that you had representatives of the oil industry on both these panels. I'm sure they were just so enthralled with the idea of using wind.
Well, I can't say. There also is a difference between the oil and gas industry, in that the gas industry makes a differentiation between themselves and the oil industry, and they argue about who is the most environmentally sensitive. With the gas industry, I think, coming out way ahead, in that your dangers as far as natural gas are concerned are less than the dangers as far as oil are concerned.
Have you met since have either of these groups met since the Gulf?
We have not met since the Gulf. We had to turn, the Legislative Commission had to turn our report into the legislature on the 12th of May, when the legislature started.
So your report was put to bed before the spill?
That is correct.
Would that have changed things?
No, we put a cover letter on it. The co-chairs put a cover letter on the report after the Gulf oil spill, saying that this had changed some of the equation, and that it called for much greater caution.
For much greater caution. But now the legislature can use that study made outside of the oil spill as a basis for decision making?
I don't think so. I mean, I think.
Well, how much decision making power, or how much influence will that work that you've done on these two commissions have?
Well, I certainly would hope that, as I say, that the emphasis at the end of our study, or the cover on our study, saying that we are, because of the oil spill, we are going to have to be much more careful. There's going to have to be much more research done, and that passing that off to the governor's panel. The governor's panel has not met since the oil spill, and I assume that we're going to start with that, and an examination of that issue.
Do you think it'll have impact, what happened in the Gulf?
Yes.
On the industry and the offshore exploration effort?
It already has had an effect. That is, the president had previous to this said that the Atlantic coast states ought to be open to oil drilling. He's now pulled back on that and said that until there's full investigation, we know what went on, that he is not endorsing drilling off the East Coast.
I found a recent survey by Elon University indicating that 63% of the people in North Carolina favor offshore drilling even after the Gulf oil crisis. Surprising?
That does surprise me. And let me point out that there are some of the questions that I was trying to answer from the very beginning in this is, how much oil is there offshore? We don't know the answer to that question. There are some estimates, and estimates done from activities back in the 1980s when this was considered, that indicates that there is some oil off there. The next question is, where does that oil come on shore if there is oil?
How important is public opinion?
Well, I think certainly the public, but the public has to be informed. I think the public believes that we're going to go and drill offshore, the oil is going to come on, it's going to be siphoned immediately into their gas tank, and it's going to lower the cost of driving. Some of those assumptions that the public have are inaccurate and need to be corrected.
Because we were told, and I think you made note of this, that it's safe, we have space-age technology, we have fail-safes. This one supposedly had a fail-safe that failed. Is it, this will happen again?
Oh, I think that there's no question that it will happen again.
Maybe not the same way, but
maybe not in the same way. But what this points out is this is a highly dangerous activity. It has significant risks that are connected with it, and those risks cannot be reduced to zero.
Is it irresponsible to pursue this kind of energy that in more ways than one threatens our environment, our life, our lifestyles, instead of other cleaner, safer alternatives that are out there?
The only problem is when you say that are out there, they are not out there in sufficient numbers now in order to make it viable for us to say we don't need ever more to drill offshore.
But oil, you said, is reaping the benefits are 15 years away. If we put whatever that energy into developing for 15 years, we couldn't develop this.
I'm very sympathetic to that argument, and I think but that is not national policy at this point, nor is that what is a really a popular idea. People see gas going up toward $3 a gallon now, and I think it'll exceed that by summer. They think that if we drill offshore, it'll take care of the problem.
Nice way to manipulate public opinion.
Right.
Raise the price of gas.
That's it.
How political is all this? We'll ask Jim that question when we come back. Stay with us.